welcome. Welcome to our devotional. It's good to be here with you. You know, we're doing this series on the relevancy of Jesus. Is Jesus relevant? And we've been looking at some misperceptions that some people might have about Christianity that would cause them to believe that Jesus is not relevant. Well, we're going to continue right on. And the misconception we're going to start with today, it goes like this. The Bible is not a true representation of Jesus. The New Testament is not a true representation of Jesus. People made up what they wrote, some people would say. Other people might say, well, it was written way, way long after Jesus was there, hundreds of years after Jesus walked on the earth. Or it's full of myths and it's full of legends. Or maybe they play, well, just changed over the years, either deliberately or just by accident. But it's certainly, the New Testament is not a representation of who Jesus really was. And you know, that is not true. In fact, the New Testament is a very accurate representation of who Jesus was, what Jesus taught, the miracles that he did, and the theology that he preached. And this is a big subject. But I'm just going to kind of delve into it, maybe a quarter of a level deep. I'm just going to give you some of the top level arguments. And if you want more information, you could just email me or text me, and I'll put you on to some very good books on this subject. Well, you know who the New Testament was written by? It was written by eyewitnesses. What do you mean eyewitnesses? It was either written by people that walked with Jesus or by people who interviewed the people who walked with Jesus, eyewitnesses. And there are 9 authors of the New Testament, and they wrote in different places around where Jesus' churches were. Although they wrote in different places, they were consistent in what they wrote. The theology is consistent from one New Testament book to another. In other words, the books that were written, say, up in Rome, are consistent with what was written down in Jerusalem. It's consistent with what was written in other places. So even though they're written in different places, it wasn't good communication in those days. What was written was consistent. The authors were consistent. And furthermore, except for John, the authors, well, John and one other author actually, that 7 of the 9 authors were martyred for what they believed. They spent their whole life under persecution, and finally they were killed for what they believed, and they never recanted. Even John was persecuted, but he wasn't martyred, but he was persecuted. And the last author, the number 9 author, was the author of Hebrews, and we just don't know who that is. So the authors were persecuted for what they believed. It doesn't sound to me like they were making things up. Furthermore, many of the books were written within 25 years of when Jesus was crucified, died, and rose again from the dead. Some as early as 18 to 20 years. So they were written very, very early, and probably by 40 years after Jesus died, all the books of the New Testament, except possibly the Revelation, there's a little bit of question there, but the other books were written by 40 years. So they were written very early. And there wasn't enough time for myths and legends. And if somebody had written something that wasn't true, people who walked with Jesus would say, wait a minute, that's not true. And that didn't happen. And there's no possibility that the New Testament changed over years. You see, by 35 years after Jesus died, 35 years later, Christianity had exploded into all around the western shores the eastern shores of the Mediterranean, the eastern shores and the inland, and all the way up to Rome, all the way down into Ethiopia. There were all kinds of Christian churches. And what would happen? Paul would write a book, he'd send it to some place, they'd take it, and they'd immediately copy it and send it to the other churches. They'd copy it and send it to some other churches. So there's many, many, many copies of the transcripts. And furthermore, what happens, what they found is the copies that they found up near Rome are exactly the same as the copies that they found down in Ethiopia. So the possibility that the Bible was changed over the years is just not possible. It's just not possible. There is a voluminous amount of evidence that shows that the New Testament is an accurate description of who Jesus was and what he taught. And if you'd like some more information, I can point you to some books, or I could send you some books. There's all kinds of material, voluminous amounts. The second misconception we're going to look at today is that Christian and the Bibles are anti-science. You might hear somebody say, I can't become a Christian. I just can't become a Christian. If I became a Christian, I'd have to stop believing in science. All right, if I became a Christian, I'd have to believe that the earth was no older than 10,000 years old. Or furthermore, if I become a Christian, I can't believe in evolution, because Christians don't believe in evolution, so I couldn't believe in evolution. And all these things that I just said are not true. They're just simply not true. Many Christians, many Christians believe that the earth is very old, even billions of years old. You say, wait a minute, how can they believe that in light of the Bible? Well, it is true that there's a lot of symbolism in the Bible, especially in Genesis. Maybe it was just symbolism. Furthermore, many Christians believe in evolution. Wait a minute, they believe in evolution? Yeah, they believe in evolution. They believe that God used evolution in the creation of man, of human beings. Now, to me, random evolution doesn't make sense. Right? It just doesn't make sense. To me, believing in random evolution takes more faith than believing in God, the Creator. The truth is, life is so complicated that I don't believe it's possible that you and I were a product of chance. I don't think that is even possible. Things don't get more complicated. Things tend to wind down. And it's just not possible that we arbitrarily got more and more complicated. The body is so incredibly complicated. All these feedback systems that we have, and these control systems, and our brain, and the way we have auto repair systems, it's just not possible that they occurred by accident. And I know I talked about this a little bit in our last devotion. I might go back and watch that too. You know, Paul is the great apostle Paul in the book of Romans. He wrote about this in Romans chapter 1. You know what he said? He said, it's obvious that there is a God. It's obvious because you just look at the things that God created. It's obvious that there's a God. And I think that I could say the same thing. It's obvious that there's a God who is the Creator, who created you and me. You see, I and many other Christians believe that science is the discovery of the way God created things. The truth is, I have never met, I'm sure there might be, but out of the 2.6 billion Christians, I don't think there's very many of those that believe. Might be one or two, I don't know, but I don't know any of them. I don't know any Christians that are anti-science. They all believe that science is the discovery of the way that God made things. Furthermore, I want you to know that many Christians believe in global warming. I believe in global warming. Many Christians believe we have an obligation to the environment that God created. I know I'm not an environmentalist, but I'll tell you, I'm one of the best recyclers that there is. And furthermore, whenever we go to a park, if there's a piece of trash laying around, we always pick it up. The rule is always leave the place cleaner than what it was. Always try to drive cars that get pretty good mileage. And always try to keep our house as cool as we possibly can, probably around 65 degrees. Furthermore, there's many Christians that believe that vaccines are a gift of God. I believe vaccines are a gift of God. You had your COVID vaccine? Get it. Why not protect yourself against the COVID? Furthermore, the many Christians, all the ones that I know, believe that modern medicine is a gift given to us by God. You know, all these, evolution. The important thing is that you believe in Jesus. That's what Christianity is all about. Christianity is believing that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of the living God who was crucified, died, and rose again from the dead, and that Jesus paid the penalty for yours and my sin, and being sorry. That's what Christianity is about. And certainly, Christians are not anti-science. Certainly, the Bible is an accurate representation of who Jesus is. Well, with all that said, there's only one other thing to say. Say it with me. Aloha. See you there.